Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to see about anatomy of humerus. Let's go ahead with the general features of humerus. Humerus, the upper end is rounded to form the head, the lower end is expanded from side to side and flattened from before backwards. The head is directed medially. Medially means inner side of the body, upwards and backwards. Then the lesser tubercle projects from the front of the upper end and is limited laterally to the intertubercular sulcus. Features of the humerus. The upper end. The head is directed medially, backwards and upwards. It articulates with the glenoid cavity. The cavity of the scapula to form the shoulder joint. The head forms about one third of a spear. Okay, and is much larger than the glenoid cavity. Separating the head from the rest of the upper end is called the anatomical neck. The lesser tubercle is an elevation of the anterior aspect of the upper end. The greater tubercle is an elevation that forms the lateral part of the upper end. It's a posterior aspect of the marked three impressions: upper, middle, and lower. The intertubercular sulcus or bicipital groove separates the lesser tubercle medially from the anterior part of the greater tubercle. The sulcus has medial and lateral lips that represent downward prolongations of the lesser and greater tubercles. The narrow line separating the upper end of the humerus from the shaft is called the surgical neck. Here, this is the surgical neck. Morphological neck lies 0.5 centimeter above the surgical neck. Surgical neck you can see comfortably in the posterior aspect of the humerus. It shows the position of the epiphyseal line. This is the epiphyseal line. Shaft. The shaft is rounded in the upper half and triangular in the lower half. It has three borders and three surfaces. Borders: the upper border, the lateral border, and the upper part of the medial border. The upper one third of the anterior border forms the lateral lip. Here, this is a lateral lip of the intertubercular sulcus. In its middle part, it forms the anterior margin of the deltoid tuberosity. The lower half of the anterior border smooth and rounded. The lateral border is prominent only at the lower end, where it forms the lateral supracondylar ridge. In the upper part, it is barely traceable up to the posterior surface of the greater tubercle. In the middle part, it is interrupted by the radial or spinal groove. This radial and spinal groove is upper part of the medial border forms the medial lip of the intertubercular sulcus about its middle. It continues below with the medial supracondylar ridge. Surfaces of the humerus. The anterolateral surface lies between the anterior and the lateral borders. The upper half of the surface is covered by the deltoid. A little above the middle, it's marked by a V-shaped deltoid. Behind the deltoid tuberosity, the radial groove run downwards and forwards across the surfaces. It can easily visible in the posterior view of the humerus, and then the anterior medial surface lies between the anterior medial borders. Its upper one third is narrow and forms the floor of the intertubercular sulcus. A nutrient foramen is seen near the medial border below its middle part. Here, this is nutrient foramen. The posterior surface The posterior surface lies between the medial and the lateral borders. Its upper part is marked by an oblique ridge. Here, this is the oblique ridge. Oblique ridge. The middle one third is crossed by the radial groove. Here, this is the radial groove. You can see this one, no? Radial groove. Lower end. The lower end of the humerus forms the condyle, which is expanded from side to side and has articular and non-articular parts. The articular parts includes the capitulum and trochlea. The capitulum is a rounded projection which articulates with the head of the radius. And the trochlea is a plate-shaped surface. It articulates with the, here this is trochlea. It articulates with the trochlear notch of the ulna bone. The medial edge of the trochlea projects down 6 mm more than the lateral edge. This results in the formation of the carrying angle. The non-articular part. The medial epicondyle is a prominent bony projection. If you palpable the medial epicondyle, you can sense it. The medial epicondyle is the prominent bony projection on the medial side of the lower end. It is subcutaneous and is easily felt on the medial side of the elbow. The epicondyle is smaller than the medial epicondyle. You can see here. This is medial epicondyle, this is lateral epicondyle. Is smaller than the medial epicondyle. Its anterior part has a muscular impression. Here this is. The sharp lateral margin just above the lower end called the lateral supracondylar ridge. Here this one. We are going to see about the attachments of the right humerus. The multiplanate subscapularis, this is the subscapularis muscle, is inserted to the lesser tubercle. Here we can see this lesser tubercle. Is inserted into the lesser tubercle, and the supraspinatus is inserted into the uppermost impression of the greater tubercle. Though here it is. And then the infraspinatus. The infraspinatus, here it is. The infraspinatus is inserted into the middle impression of the greater tubercle. It is the posterior view of the right humerus. And then the teres minor is inserted into the lower impression of the greater tubercle. Here. The pectoralis major is inserted into the lateral lip of the intertubercular sulcus. Intertubercular sulcus, though, here. Lateral lip of the intertubercular sulcus. The insertion is bilaminar, and the latissimus dorsi, here. This one. The latissimus dorsi is inserted into the floor of the intertubercular sulcus. This is intertubercular sulcus, here, this one. Latissimus dorsi. And this, the teres major is inserted into the medial lip of the intertubercular sulcus. The deltoid is inserted into the deltoid tuberosity. The coracobrachialis is inserted into the rough area. Here this is the coracobrachialis is inserted to the rough area on the middle of the medial border. And the brachialis. It arises from the lower half of the anteromedial and the anterolateral, anteromedial, anteromedial and the anterolateral surfaces of the shaft. Part of the area extends on the posterior aspect, and the brachioradialis. Here, this one. The brachioradialis arises from the upper two-thirds of the lateral supracondylar ridge. Next one. The extensor carpi radialis longus. Here, this one. Below the brachioradialis. Here, this one. The extensor carpi radialis longus arises from the lower one-third of the lateral supracondylar ridge. Here, this common flexor origin means superficial flexor origin. The superficial flexor muscles of the forearm arise by a common origin from the anterior aspect of the medial epicondyle. This one, medial epicondyle. This is known as the common flexor origin, and the common extensor origin is extensor muscles of the forearm and the supinator have a common origin from the lateral epicondyle. Here, this one, lateral epicondyle. This is called the common extensor origin. And this is the capsular line. Capsular, here it is. The green color dotted lines. So, these are the general features and muscle attachments of the humerus. Thanks for watching.